Hello everybody, today we are going to look about the ostensible owner, section 41 of Transfer of Property Act. Ostensible means which appears to be true but in reality it is not. So an ostensible owner means he is not a real owner but he acts as though he is a real owner of the particular property. So one example of ostensible owner would be the actual owner may be living in some other place than the property and he or she would have assigned a third party to look after the property. So the third party who has been assigned is called as an ostensible owner, while the owner of the property is staying abroad. Benami transactions are main examples of ostensible transfer. So ostensible owner is given under section 41 where the person has gained the consent of the owner either expressly or impliedly, and this transfer shall not be voidable on the grounds that the transferor was not authorized to make it, provided that the transferee, after taking reasonable care to ascertain that the transferor had power to make the transfer, has acted in a good faith. So this is given under section 41. The essentials of section 41 are there has to be a transfer of immovable property and that transfer should have been done by an ostensible owner. The transfer is done for a consideration and the person interested in that property has consented for the transfer and the consent can be either expressly or implied. The transferee should have taken reasonable care and acted in good faith. Then if all these 5 conditions are proved, then such a transfer will be a valid transfer. Otherwise, it will be a void transfer. Now, who is an ostensible owner? Now, ostensible owner, as we saw before, he is not the real owner, but he can represent himself as a real owner to a third party for any such dealings. He has acquired that right by the willful neglect or acquiescence by the real owner of the property, thereby making him an ostensible owner. So there is a case law here, Mohammed Shaku versus Shah Jahan, in which the real owners have lived in a different village and had authorized the widow to use the property as she liked, and afterwards she sold it. So the real owner lost the case and the transfer was a valid one. Now, persons who cannot be an ostensible owner are professed agents, trustees, servants, or guardians, or any other persons acting in a fiduciary character. So, for example, if A owns a property in India and he authorizes B to perform all rights of ownership relating to the property and leaves for UK. So, B will be the ostensible owner of such property and all acts done by him will be considered at the act of A. So B further sells the property to C for consideration. A cannot recover from C his land in the future as C have believed B to be the owner of the property and has acted in a good faith. So this is ostensible owner and a case where transferred property cannot be returned. So what is a transfer of immovable property by an ostensible owner? So this 41 section applies to partial transfers as well. Hence, it is not necessary for a transfer to be that by sale or exchange. So a transfer includes the transfer of an interest in the property, for example, mortgage. And this transfer has to be a voluntary one, and the transfer made by the order of a court will not fall under this section. This is an exception to this section. And the section will only apply to the cases of transfer of immovable property and not a movable property. And there must also be existing a real owner and an ostensible owner. Only then this section will have application, otherwise not. So Benami transaction is a major example of this section 41, and in cases of such transaction, the burden of proof lies on the person who claims to be the real owner of the property. So the real owner has the burden of proof. To determine whether a transfer is made by an ostensible owner, the following criteria should be fulfilled. That is, a transfer executed by the transferor should be of an immovable property. The real owner should give express or implied consent. The person who subsequently transfers the property should be the ostensible owner. The ostensible owner should receive consideration for the transferred property, and the purchaser must believe the ostensible owner to be the real owner and act in a good faith. So these are the 5 conditions. So consent from the real owner, the main purpose of this section is to protect the rights of the innocent third party who has purchased the property when the real owner was himself at fault by not protesting the transfer. So but a necessary requirement is that the real owner should have the capacity to give the consent, and that consent should not be obtained from any unlawful act. In case of minors, even if the ostensible owner claims that he has the consent of the minor, it will be held to be no consent as minors do not have any capacity to give the required consent. If the consent is given by the guardian of the minor, then it will be taken as a consent granted by the minor himself. So this is consent from the real owner. Now, what is reasonable care and good faith? From the starting, we have been saying that there should be reasonable care and good faith. The term reasonable care means care which a man of ordinary prudence would take and will not commit any, and this reasonable care, if it is not taken, it will amount to negligence. And the transferee should take adequate care to determine the true title of the property, and he should ascertain whether the transferor is the real owner of the property and he has acted in good faith. And sufficient care should also be taken by the transferee in inspecting the relevant documents and title of the property. He should also make proper inquiries to protect himself from the real owner. So the person who is actually buying, the third party, should take reasonable care to ensure that the person who is selling to him is not acting in a fraudulent mean and is not an ostensible owner. So if any precautions or steps taken by the buyer has been proved in the court, then it will be proved that the buyer has taken reasonable care and he has acted upon good faith, and hence he will be protected by law. So what is Benami transaction? Benami transaction is an example of ostensible ownership. Benami transaction implies that property is held by one person whereas the consideration for the same is provided by another. Hence, the real owner is the person who provides the consideration and the person whose name the property is considered as the ostensible owner. So, Benami transaction, in order to deal with these Benami transaction, a separate act, Benami Transactions Act, was brought into act, and this act prohibits Benami transactions and makes the same punishable. So this act declared that whoever is the ostensible owner of the property will become the real owner of that particular property, and there are two exceptions under section 3 of this Benami Transaction Act to prohibit on the Benami transaction. One is if anyone buys the property in the name of his wife, or if anyone buys the property itself. So there's a case law in relation to this ostensible ownership. That is, there was a plaintiff who has inherited a property through a will, and he came to know that someone else had purchased the land in her name and sold the same to a third party by deceiving of holding a good title. So the whole transaction was a Benami transaction, and it was not known to anyone other than the person who has sold it. So the plaintiff sued the third party for recovery of the possession of the land, and the committee held that this is a principle of natural equity and it has to be applied universally, that where one man who allows to hold himself out as the owner of an estate and a third person has purchased it for value from the apparent owner in the belief of a good faith, then the man who has allowed the other to hold himself shall not be permitted to recover upon his secret title. So unless he can overthrow that of the purchaser by showing either that he had a direct notice or something which amounts to a constructive notice of the real title, or that there was existing circumstances which ought to have put him upon an inquiry that if prosecuted would have led to the discovery of it. So these conditions were not proved in the court by the plaintiff, and hence the plaintiff cannot take back the property from the third party. And this transfer was considered legitimate in the eyes of law according to section 41. So this is what the Privy Council held in Ram Kumar Kundo versus John and Maria McQueen case. So there is a maxim called as nemo that quod non habet. This is a Latin maxim, meaning it is one of the basic principles of common law. It tells that a person cannot convey a better title than he himself possesses. So if there is a real owner, then that title is the most better title than he himself can, any other title he can possess. So this is the meaning of it. An exception to this general principle occurs when the true owner entrusts another person with the documents of the title, and a third person who, after taking reasonable care, deals with that other in a good faith or a bona fide manner. The third party may acquire a good title in the law to the property as against the true owner. So this is what happened in the previous case law that we discussed. So the principle behind this section is that where it is imperative that one of the two innocent persons may suffer from the fraud of a third party, the law should fall on him who has created or had the opportunity to prevent the fraud. So this is kind of a punishment for a person who has acted negligent on the part of himself. So also in such cases, a greater hardship is caused if the general rule that no one can confer a higher right on the property than he himself possesses is enforced. So this is an exception to doctrine. Ostensible ownership is an exception to the doctrine of nemo, the quod non, because it does for a reason of equity and allows the ostensible owners to have delivered the rights of a true ownership because of a good faith that has been imposed upon the transferees. And this ostensible ownership is linked with the concept of Benami transactions also. So Benami transactions are where the real ownership lies in another who pays the consideration, while the ostensible ownership lies in the Benamida who lends his name to the title deeds. So this ostensible ownership is different from sham transaction, that since the enactment of Benami Transactions Prohibition Act 1988, and an ostensible owner can become a real owner in certain situations where he has possessed any good faith and the transferee has given any reasonable care. So clearly, after the passing of Benami's Transactions Act, the scope of this application of Section 2041 has become very limited, because earlier it was applicable to all the Benami transactions, but now only in the case of ostensible ownership. So this is all about ostensible ownership with regard to the Benami Transactions Act. Thank you.